Today's class. Today we are moving to the part of history, chapter 8, Devotional Path to the Divine. In this chapter, we are looking some of the religious movements and some of the philosophies of the medieval period. There are supreme gods, Shiva, Vishnu and Durga were there, and some of the Bhakti movements in South India by Nayanars and Alvars. And Shankaracharya and Ramanuja, they were two philosophers about their religious ideas, and saints of Maharashtra and their Bhakti movements in Maharashtra. So we can look what are the developments happened in the Bhakti movement in the medieval period.
Devotional Paths to the Divine. In your home or at several places, you must have seen people singing worships in the form of bhajans, kirtans or kavalis, or by just taking the name of God. These all started from the 8th century. Different group of people worshipped their own god and goddesses before emergence of the large kingdom. With the growth of towns, trade and empire, people brought together and several new ideas were developed. All living things pass through a cycle of birth and rebirth and perform good and bad deeds. All human beings are not equal. Social privilege comes from birth in a noble family or a high caste family. The people who did not like these ideas turned to the teachings of Buddha and Jains. Some people got attracted to the idea of the Supreme God who could deliver humans from bondages if they approach with devotions. This idea has been mentioned in Bhagavad Gita. Shiva, Vishnu and Durga are supreme powers that are worshipped through elaborate rituals. Gods and goddesses are worshipped in different areas, in different forms of Vishnu, Shiva and Durga. Puranic stories include the process of local myths and legends. Different methods of worship, which were recommended in the Puranas, were introduced into the local cultures. Puranas state that it is possible to receive the grace of God regardless of their caste status. Bhakti idea was adopted by Buddhists and Jains. Nayanars and Alvars. In South India, Nayanars and Alvars introduced new kind of bhakti. Nayanars are those saints who are devotees of Shiva. Alvars are those saints who are devotees of Vishnu. In the 7th and 9th century, Nayanars and Alvars led a religious movement including personals from all the caste, including untouchables like Pulayar and Panars. They followed the teachings of Buddhists and Jains and preached that the worship of Shiva or Vishnu is a path to starvation. They followed the ideas written in Sangam literature, one of the earliest of the Tamil literature. The idea was to follow love and heroism. Nayanars and Alvars went from place to place composing poems in praise of the deities enriched in the villages they visited and set them to music. Nayanars include total 63 saints, mainly Sambandar, Appar, Sundarar and Manikavakar. Nayanars includes untouchable workers, peasants, hunters, soldiers. Nayanar's songs are two sets of compilation of their songs, Devaram and Tiruvakakam. There are total 12 Alvars. They came from equally divergent backgrounds. Their songs were compiled in the Divya Prabandham. Chola and Pandya kings built several temples near the shrines visited by saint poets in the 10th and 12th century. Hagiographic or religious biographic of the Alvars and Nayanars were also composed. These are used today as the writing history of the Bhakti tradition.
Shankaracharya was one of the famous philosophers of India. He was born in Kerala in 18th century. His famous doctrine Advaita says that individual souls are the supreme God, which is the ultimate reality. And he preaches that renunciation and adoption of the path of knowledge to understand the true nature of Brahman and attain salvation. That was the teachings of Shankaracharya, the great philosopher of India. Ramanuja was one of the greatest philosophers in India. He born in Tamil Nadu in 11th century. He greatly influenced by the Alvar saints. According to him, to attain salvation was through devotion to Vishnu. Ramanuja's doctrine, Visishtadvaita, says greatly influenced the new strata of Bhakti which developed in North India subsequently. Basavana's Veerashaivism. Veerashaivism was developed by Basavana. With him, Allama Prabhu and Akkama Devi was there. It was in the mid-12th century developed in Karnataka. They have strongly argued for the equality of human being and they are against all forms of rituals and worships.
Between 13th to the 17th centuries, there were a number of great saint poets who used to inspire people with their devotional songs. These were the Bhakti Saints. They were mostly from the region of Maharashtra and composed songs in simple Marathi. The most important among them were Gyaneshwar, Namdev, Eknath, Tukaram, and Chokha Mela. There were women saints too who were famous. One such women saint poet is Sakkubai. The Marathi tradition of Bhakti believed in Lord Vitthal, who was the reincarnation of Lord Vishnu. It also focused on the fact that in the hearts of all people resides a God. These saint poets rejected all forms of ritualism, outward display of piety, and social differences based on birth. They also rejected the idea of renunciation. They used to live with their families, earned their livelihood like any other person, while humbly serving fellow human beings in need. A new humanist idea emerged as they insisted the bhakti lay in sharing others' pain. And this thought is very much visible in what Saint Narsi Mehta had said. They are Vaishnavas who understand the pain of others. Let us read an extract of an Abhang written by Saint Tukaram, where he questions the social order. He who identifies with the battered and the beaten, mark him as a saint, for God is with him. He holds every forsaken man close to his heart. He treats a slave as his own son. Says Tuka, I won't be tired to repeat again, such a man is God in person.
The Natmandis, Siddhas and Yogis were criticized most of the religious practices and rituals. They, according to them, the path of salvation is through meditation. We can achieve these through keeping yogas and meditation and breathing exercises. Their practices popular among the low-caste people. In this class, we have learned about the Bhakti movement of Alvars and Nayanars in South India and Ramanuja, Shankaracharya, their philosophy about the religious practices, and saints of Maharashtra, what are the religious practices they have done in Maharashtra, and the Siddhas and Yogis, they have criticized the religious rituals and practices, and through meditation we can attain the path of salvation. The rest of the chapter we will see in the next class.